Everyone, I'm delighted to welcome you to today's WSBR webinar. So as Betsy mentioned, we have a two-part program today. First, we'll be focusing on WSBR's primary charter, which is our education initiatives. Our charter is to promote education in the National Capital Area. We have two guest speakers today that will be promoting STEM education. Starting with Mike Kincaid, Associate Administrator for NASA's STEM Engagement Program, and Haney Aldeeb, who is the Assistant Professor of Mathematics at Bard's High School. So as Betsy mentioned, we'll be following that with our silent flagship auction, where we're hoping to raise a significant number of funds for our WSBR and education initiatives. But first, a little bit about Mike. So Mike oversees the strategic direction and leadership for NASA's STEM engagement function. He is engaged with educators, students, institutions across NASA's unique missions. He also chairs the STEM Education Engagement Council. He co-chairs the Federal Coordination in STEM Education. And he is the NASA's representative on the International Space Education Board, which collaborates across 10 different countries in the interests of promoting space science and technology of students worldwide. Mike has been at NASA JSC for 30 years, and Mike has a bachelor's degree from the University of Texas A&M and an MBA from the University of Houston. So with that, let me pass it over to Mike.
Hey, thanks, Sally, and thanks for the opportunity to come visit today. I really am excited about the chance to visit with the Washington Space Business Roundtable. You know, our interests are so aligned, and when you guys asked me to be part of this presentation, and Courtney reminded me I have 15 minutes, and he knows where I live, so I'm going to do my best to be done on time. When I looked at the combination of having me and then hearing from Haney later, it's real interesting kind of looking at a big national perspective of how does space make a difference in our nation's classrooms, and then what an example of the kinds of things that WSBR is doing in the DC area is really intriguing, I think. So I'm gonna float through these charts pretty quickly. My goal is to kind of show you how we can partner. I want to show you how we're already partnering with other entities in the local area and across the country. And I hope that during this presentation that there'll be something that some sort of challenge, something that will compel you to act. It takes one small step. The fact that WSBR is so supportive of STEM engagement activities across the country and across the region, I think is such an exciting thing, and I appreciate the work that you guys have done there. Let's go to the next slide. Thanks, Tori. So let's talk just briefly. These are not the Office of STEM Engagement's goals. These are NASA's goals. NASA's goals is we immerse students in our mission. And it distinguishes us from places like Department of Education or NSF, where if you look at these three things along the bottom, right? We're unique opportunities for students to contribute to our mission, that first one. The middle one, we're looking at a diverse future workforce. We want to provide authentic learning experiences that only NASA can provide. And that third one's we want to spark students' interest, particularly in the middle school time frame when students are thinking about their future and they make choices about math and science and self-perceptions about what they can and can't do. And I think NASA can play a role there. I think what you're doing, what you'll see some examples of, are already making a difference there. Let's go to the next slide. Won't spend much time on this other than to tell you that there's 4 projects that the Congress appropriates for us in the Office of STEM Engagement. You may have heard of Space Grant, an F-score, which is for 27 states that traditionally receive less federal funding. Minority University Research Program, what we call MIRAP, looking at minority serving institutions in particular. And the Next Gen STEM is a relatively small part of our portfolio, but it's aimed at the K-12 audiences. And I'll talk some more about each of these. Next slide. Won't spend much time on this. This is kind of, there's an annual report that we put together that shows kind of, okay, what's made a difference? And I'll pick a couple numbers to show. 6,400 students across the country, this in our 2020 report, received some sort of significant support from NASA, whether that be an internship or an assistantship back at a university, places like that. 30% of those awards went to underserved populations. It's really important to us to reach audiences that are underrepresented, underserved, and 43% went to women. You can see a little tiny print, but it was 39% last year, so we're proud that it's continuing to move up. There's a great link if you want to read a longer document that kind of walks through all of the successes and the things that we've been up to this past year. Next slide. So I want to talk a little bit about Space Grant. So Space Grant is made up of 52, every state plus the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico have a Space Grant. And DC is also the same. And so I'm going to actually ask Eric and Nate to join me for just a second. You can see them wave. I see Nate. Let's see if Eric is here as well. We go to the next slide. Oh, there's Eric. Hi, Eric. So I'm going to just put a plug in here for the Space Business Roundtable. I think an excellent future program, Courtney, would be these guys coming back and having their own 15 minutes to talk about what is the DC Space Grant doing, because they're in your neck of the woods. You might even want to have Maryland and Virginia, because of some of the work that they do, are also in this area. And you'll see that I hope partnership and collaboration will be themes that you hear throughout this conversation. So Nate and Eric get a grant from NASA to basically look at space issues in this region. And I asked them to put together this chart. You can see their contact information here as well. I asked them, I said, what are some things you guys are doing, particularly in K-12, because I looked at where the passion area seems to be for the Space Business Roundtable. And they also mentioned to me when I was emailing back and forth with Eric that you'll hear from Haney. Haney was part of one of the presentations or programs that the DC Space Grant put on. Haney participated in. So I think as you dig into it, you'll find DC Space Grant being a key partner. Yeah, exactly, Nate. So I'm glad I'm shamelessly plugging DC Space Grant. If I had thought about it a little bit earlier, I would have also had Virginia and Maryland on this call as well. But I hope that in the future that could be something we can work on. So thank you guys both for joining in. I think you hopefully whetted their appetite for you guys to come back to a future session. Let's go to the next slide. So let's talk briefly. So that's K-12. Let's talk briefly about internships. Again, I told you, I hope that you will find something in today's presentation that incentivizes you to think of some young student or an educator. I'm going to give you several opportunities of concrete things that you can do to help us connect students. So we do have internships at NASA this summer. We will have 1,300 virtual interns. Think about that. Think about getting 1,300 students a computer when they're not visiting the NASA center, and getting them badged and getting them set up with their mentors. You did not want to be the NASA IT help desk last Monday when all 1,300 of them started, but it's exciting to see this. We're already recruiting for the fall and spring, so interns. And let's go to the next slide. Shameless plug again, DC Space Grant helped us find two of these students. Laura and Leo both worked at Washington, D.C. at NASA headquarters working with Mars exploration. So of the 1,300, 100 work at NASA headquarters. The other 1,300 plus another 500, so almost 1,800 are working at field centers. So there's lots of opportunities. If you go to intern.nasa.gov, send your favorite college sophomore, junior. Those are probably the easiest ages to, or senior if they haven't graduated yet. I'll put another plug in. If you know someone's fall and spring is much less competitive, just so you know, this year we received 26,000 applicants for those 1,300 positions. So it's a very popular program. That's a 10,000 increase in applications over a year ago. So there's a lot of interest from students to join us. We hope that you might find some people who would want to join with us. And thank you to DC Space Grant for sponsoring Laura and Leo and helping us find them and find them interesting roles at NASA headquarters. Next slide. So I also want to put in another shameless plug, Artemis student challenges. None of these things are new, but we've recently grouped them together. We've said these are all student challenge projects where college teams will, mostly college teams, a couple are high school, most of them are college teams where they propose an experiment or an activity and they participate with us and they're part of our Artemis plan. So for example, MicroGNext, the second one that's listed, design, build, and test a tool or device to address the current space exploration challenge. Right now, as I speak, we are testing out these various tools that 20 different teams from across the country proposed EVA, extravehicular spacewalk tools that we use. We're testing those out right now in the Neutral Buoyancy Lab at the Johnson Space Center. Normally, the students would be there in the building watching as our professional divers are actually experimenting and using their tools. Because of COVID, they're not there, but they are actually controlling their tools and they're talking to the divers as we speak from wherever they might be. And so we figured out ways to do this despite COVID, to still have students be actively engaged. I love telling the success story 2 summers ago. One of our challenges was we needed a zip tie cutter so that when astronauts went into space, they could have a tool that would cut zip ties. It's not the easiest thing to do on the ground. It's really hard in space and cold temperatures. This team from a community college actually won the competition. We love their design so much. We took it, we printed it, made a copy of it, and we used it on a ISS mission about 18 months ago. So no kidding, students do make a difference and actually help us think through things that we can use in the space program. They are part of contributing to NASA's work. And I think that's a win-win for all of us. There's hundreds of teams if you add up all of them across these 7 different things. You may have heard of Rover Challenge, which is out of Marshall. Micro-G Next, I just talked about, is the neutral buoyancy pool. Suits for students, they're helping us develop heads-up displays inside a spacesuit for astronauts in the future. Big Idea Challenge is helping us design payloads for the south pole of the moon. All interesting assignments. If you have a university or a group of students, we would love to have them go to stem.nasa.gov. All these resources you can find at stem.nasa.gov. You can find this one /Artemis, but stem.nasa.gov will give you to all of the stuff we've been working hard the last few years to put everything that NASA does in that same place. Stem.nasa.gov. I'll only mention that address 4 or 5 more times in this presentation. Next slide. Also want to give you another concrete thing you can use. This will actually go live tomorrow, so this is actually a preview. We've landing humans on the moon educators guide, and so we've been working with our friends in HEO and our mission director at Human Exploration Operations Mission Directorate to look at how do you help middle school students. And so we hope that if you have contacts or people that could use this information, it's aligned to NASA standards, and or to national standards rather. And it is taking kind of no kidding today's content and helping students and educators use that in our nation's classrooms. Next slide. I want to put in another shameless plug, NASA Express. It's a weekly email that comes out every Thursday. It's particularly designed for educators. While it benefits students as well, I think our sweet spot is for an educator. If you know of a classroom educator who likes NASA or likes space, it's more than space, more than just NASA, we would love for them to sign up. It goes to 58,000 educators, get it every Thursday morning. We put information in there about some of our partnerships. We have things that are coming up right now, things that you can sign up for. And it's very topical. I think one of the complaints we sometimes get is NASA has so much stuff. How do you find something? And so while stem.nasa.gov is a place that you can go find it when you want it, this is sending out information each Thursday with, hey, this is what's coming up right now. So it's very topical, and it's aligned to what educators need in today's classrooms. I hope that you might have a friend or a family member who could find this valuable. Next slide. So also want to take a moment to look at the partnerships. You know, we have really worked hard these last few, I've been in this job for 4 years, and our job is to not try to have NASA do it all. Let's go find other people who already have networks, who are already in the nation's classrooms, and let's take our NASA content and add to it. So Discovery Education has 1 million teachers, and their biggest event that they had this past school year was actually the Mars landing. We partnered with them, we gave them unique content. They went out to their subscribers, to the educators and students. It was their most popular event, as I mentioned. To me, that's a win-win, right? They already have the audience. We just have to give them cool content, and what a great partnership it is. Million Girls Moonshot, it's a national group of after-school programs, particularly underserved populations, tends to be right in the sweet spot of what we're looking at. That's a big foundation. They already have a lot of after-school programs. They were looking for us for content. Loved it. Great opportunity. And then the Girl Scouts was, while we've had a long history with Girl Scouts this spring, we did a virtual summit with 14,000 girls talking to a bunch of different NASA people. So again, when I thought about the Washington Space Business Roundtable, first of all, thank you again for the work that you do, but we're aligned with these interests. And as I look kind of who is going to be on today and who is on today, it's some names I know, some names I've read about. I hope that you're able to help us kind of make connections and use space, because that's where our common interests are, to connect with students. And I think these are all mechanisms that we would love for you to benefit from, to partner with, and to help us extend even further. Next slide. So I think this is my last slide. I've mentioned a few times stem.nasa.gov, our website, where you can find out all kinds of information. There's a filters on it. So if you're a student, if you're an educator, if you're a college student, if you're a middle school student, you can kind of click some buttons. If you're a parent, all those are different options that you can pick to help you find all the different things, or find the useful things to you, particularly from all the different things on our website. And then we love it if you would follow us on social media. I see a number of partners in here already on this call today. We have on Pinterest, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube are all different channels that we can get information. And with that, I think that's my last slide, right?
Correct.
Okay, all right. So Courtney, for the record, I finished in 13.5 minutes. So you did not have to come visit me at my house.
Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome. And thanks again for the opportunity to come visit with you. We would be happy to come back when you guys are meeting in person anytime we can. our interests are so well aligned, and we would love to come talk to you about how we can continue to work with you and partner with you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Mike. We'll certainly take you up on that challenge. It'll be great to have you come back. And we would be interested in hearing about the Maryland and the Virginia pieces of the space grant as well. So that's great. So next up, I'm thrilled to introduce Haney Aldeeb, who is a longtime member of WSBR. Haney is currently working as the assistant professor of mathematics at Bard High School. Haney founded and is moderating the Young Robotics Club, which is one of the organizations that we, WSBR, are really proudly supporting and have done for the last couple of years. So before taking this position at Bard High School, Haney worked at Intelsat for 24 years as a senior engineer. He was a senior director of space systems planning and also strategic projects director. Following his time at Intelsat, he has continued to work in the industry. He's supporting multiple facets of educational initiatives and consulting roles throughout the space and satellite industry. And so with that, let me pass it over to Haney, and he'll tell us a little bit about what he's doing at Bard with the students there.
Thank you. Thank you, Sally. Thank you very much. And thank you to NASA also, and to the DC Space Grant, because I was indeed one of their beneficiaries last year. So it's a great program. I'm known as Dr. Haney at my school. My school is Bard High School, Early College, DC. I'm a founding mathematics faculty at the school. Our school has a focus on thinking and writing, and our motto is a place to think. I'll try to give you an idea about our school. So we are actually the newest public high school in Washington, DC. It's a partnership between the District of Columbia public school system and Bard College in New York. And it was part of the mayor's initiative to revitalize Southeast DC, because we are located in Southeast. So here we are located east of the Anacostia River and right in the heart of Southeast, sorry, right here. And the thing about this school that's special is that students can obtain an associate college degree when they graduate from high school. So basically we give them enough college credits to enable them to get an associate degree after graduating from high school, or they can continue to 4-year colleges. So our school basically seeks to demonstrate that academically rigorous, high quality, liberal arts and sciences program can intellectually engage a diverse group of high school students and effectively prepare them for success in college. So we prepare our kids for college and for success, in civic life. 70% of our faculty have PhDs, and the rest have masters typically. These are our leadership. Dr. Vanessa Anderson is the principal, and Ms. Latisha Chisholm is the Dean of Students. Dr. Brian Glore is the Dean of Studies, and they kind of lead the school in both academic and administrative sides. We are currently located in an old elementary school on H Street in Southeast, temporarily. And however, there is a new building. It's not really new. There is a renovated building. It will be fully renovated. It will be almost new. That will open in the 2022-2023 academic year for us. So this is our school, actually. This is the entrance to our school. So the Mayor Bowser, basically allocated $80 million for the new building renovation / creation, so that it will open for the 2022-2023 academic year. The number of students in our school is growing rapidly, because we started with only 9th grade pretty much, and now we are growing. So now we have all grades. So we started with 175 last year. We launched, by the way, the school was launched in August of 2019. This year we are at about 250 students. Next year we expect about 375. And in 2022, 2023, when we move to the new building, we expect to be at full capacity, which is about 500 students. So we have a lot of students coming. They need a lot of activities. You know, there should be a lot of interest. This is some information about the demographics of our students. So 70% of them live east of the river in wards 7 and 8 of DC, and 14% live in northeast. And if you're not familiar with DC, I mean, southeast is the least economically, I don't know how to describe it exactly, but it is the most economically challenged part of DC, let's say. Okay. And then there are small percentages of other neighborhoods. We have 70% female and 30% male. So we have 70% minority females pretty much. Also, 95% is either Black or Latino, Latina students. 4% Asian or Alaskan, 1% white. This is the current student body, population. 95% of our students are eligible to receive reduced lunch or free lunch. This is per the federal government. We are a Title I school. 50% of our students are considered at risk. And yet we have great students. We are celebrating the graduation of our first class, which has 15 students, on the 24th of June. And they are going to various colleges. You know, some of them chose, so like George Mason University, Bard College, Bowie State University. Some chose to take a gap year, and so on. So we are very proud of our graduates, and we are going to celebrate them next week. Now, the story of the Robotics Club. So Dr. Anderson actually early on after I was hired asked me, can you start a robotics club at Bard DC? And so I said to myself, well, I've been working with satellites, I mean, satellite is kind of like a robot. So sure enough, I told her, sure, I can do it. But I told her more than that. I will actually give you an initiative for STEM that includes both advanced mathematics, computer science, engineering, and robotics. And indeed, I started working on that. The first year was kind of hard, but last summer, I spent the summer basically researching and planning. So actually, this is wrong. This is the summer of 2020. I'm sorry. It's the summer of 2020. I spent planning and researching. I identified first robotics competitions and its regional affiliate, First Chesapeake, as the best possible potential partners, for this initiative. They helped us plan for the project. It became very clear that we need to raise funds. Hardware costs money. So I knew WSBR and the great work that they do in funding STEM programs in K-12. So I called Janice Starzik. I had estimated that we need $14,000 to support 20 to 25 students. And Janice was very helpful, actually. WSBR generously contributed $6,000 to our project and was followed by Bryce Space and Technology, who contributed $2,000. Thus, we have critical mass. We had critical mass to start. So I would like to give special thanks to both Janice and Sally, the board, and the education committee. Then we formed some other partnerships after that. For example, First Chesapeake itself and its regional partnership, they facilitated for us to get another award from Booz Allen Hamilton and Qualcomm, and a company called Coder Z that gave us access through a grant from Amazon Future Engineer for simulation software, robotics simulation software. We purchased, with the money that we got, we purchased 14 kits from Learn Robotics, and actually Booz Allen gave us more. Okay, I'm almost done here, so just bear with me. This is Dr. Kim. She is actually the Robotics Club faculty advisor. And this is Queen Ogan Shakin. She's the president of the Robotics Club. This is some of the hardware. We had many challenges, but we managed to overcome them. We ended up training 12 people on simulation software and another 10 people on hardware. But we acquired 20 kits. So we still have some kits left for next year, but I expect to teach, my administration approved me to teach 2 courses next year. So I expect maybe I'll have 20 students. So I will need more hardware. And so I will be coming for more funds. This is Kevin and his robot, and this is Queen's robot, actually. And so we'll continue next year. We will expand. I will teach an introduction to engineering course, plus computer science, and other things. So the STEM activity will expand at our school. Finally, I just want to give thanks to WSBR on behalf of my students, my administrators, my faculty, colleagues, for their generous contributions. And I look forward to continuing to cooperate with WSBR in the future. Thank you so much. This is all I have. Oh, wait, this very last slide. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Haney, very much. It sounds like the money from WSBR is being put to great use, and I'm really excited to see some of the robots that have been made, and hopefully the lessons that have been learned with your tutelage at BARD. So that is wonderful. We are hoping today that the silent auction that we're about to move into